is Tranquilla Robertson Brito. My husband is incarcerated in the Illinois Department of Corrections. He was 17 when his crime occurred, and he was 19 years old when he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. We MWI, and he is the best thing that has ever happened to me.
How does prison affect the families, the loved ones of those incarcerated? Let's just take a minute and just think about that. No one really speaks about it. We do look at things economically, socially. However, when the person is incarcerated, whatever the sentence may be, this destroys a family and a community. Oddly enough, no one ever highlights that or talk about it. So this documentary, as always, when I do those documentaries for the people, it's just to highlight and give those people a voice so their stories are heard, and that it brings exposure to the loved ones involved. Because, as we know, when a person's incarcerated, they pretty much lose their right of being a human. True enough, there are those constitutional rights that are given. However, we know that there's nothing really there. What keeps them going is their families, their friends, even their enemies at times. But we're going to focus on the families, the loved ones. Like, if we just think about the children that grow up without their fathers and their mothers. Yes, a person committed a crime. Some crimes are more heinous than others, but when we think about the more minute crimes, no one talks about that. So this documentary is to give people a voice. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that you share it, and it gets the exposure that it deserves. Thank you. And as always, it's Jonah Sanders with Urban Law School.
So what is it like to have someone you love in prison, especially someone who's absolutely innocent of all charges? Well, it's a death that happens every single morning when you wake up. You don't get to have a body to bury. You have no neighbors coming with condolences. It's trying to breathe underwater every day. It's not being stabbed in the heart. It's like having a spike going through your heart every day. Every day you stop and think, this is what he's missing out on. He's missing out on having a normal family life with a girl that he wanted to marry. He's missing out on taking his hikes that he took every day. He's missing out on working at a job that he loved. He's missing out on friends. He's missing out on any kind of a relationship that he might have with his nieces. The oldest one asking if he is still part of the family. The youngest one very upset with him because, as she says, he won't even come visit my mom. It's trying to make it through the day, every single day, and knowing that every morning you're going to wake up and you're going to go through the same thing. It's knowing what he has lost. It's also knowing what he's living with. What he's living with is, as he calls him, his bunkie, who murdered and admitted to murdering a 19-month-old baby, who, when my son is asked a question by him that he doesn't like the answer to, my son is beaten. He is afraid to go to the doctor, to the dentist, to the library, because everyone there knows what he's been charged with, and he is harassed and threatened and has been punched. And he is a very meek and mild person, almost a very naive person who thinks everybody is going to be as kind-hearted and good as he is. So he said the easiest thing is just to stay in his bunk, read his 4 magazines, look at the 10 books that he's allowed to have. He does have a tablet which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, because of where the prison is located and because of the cinder blocks that it's built out of. He has access to music, but again, the music only works intermittently. It does not work all the time, again, because of the location of the prison. He's missing out on normal food. He cannot drink orange juice. He cannot go for a swim. He cannot walk in the grass with his bare feet. He cannot get pictures, photographs. He cannot get colorings from his nieces. No crayon colorings are allowed. He cannot get postcards. He cannot get birthday cards, Christmas cards. The food is beyond impossible. They, at one day, were given peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which consisted of 2 pieces of bread, a packet of peanut butter, a packet of jelly that they had to carry back to their bunks in the pouring rain, and of course, nothing to carry it in, and the bread got soaking wet, and that was their meal for the day. They've had bologna sandwiches where the bologna is so far past due date that it smells of alcohol. They've had chicken where the chicken has fallen on the floor in the kitchen and it has just picked up and put back on a tray. This is the same kitchen that has been sprayed multiple times for rats. And one day, the only entertainment my son had was keeping track of how many dead rats there were outside of his cell. This is what he lives with every single day. This is what I live with every single day, and what the people who love him live with every single day. And there's nothing we can do to change it. Lawyers say it is what it is. Hope for the best in 20 years. But he's living with this every single day. He can get no presents. He wears the clothes that they give him to wear, whether they're new, old, it doesn't matter. And it's time that somebody stood up and said something about the conditions of prisons in this country when other countries have overcome this, have less recidivism than this country does, has a lesser incarceration rate and lesser wrongful convictions. We need to stop pussyfooting around, and it's time to stand up and do something.
Hi, my name is Carla. I'm 26 years old, and I am engaged to someone who's been in prison for 24 years. He was convicted at 17 and got a 100-year sentence. I met him through watching a documentary called Louisiana Lockdown, and something in my gut told me to contact this man. It has been the best thing I have ever done in my life. Now, that does come with some negatives as well, but I truly believe in my heart that this is my soulmate and that I am meant to be with this person. I have never had a relationship like this. That's definitely how, the number one way this has affected me was I have never had this type of love in my life. It is so strong. The bond is unbreakable, and I've never had someone not give up on me and me not give up on somebody else. Truly, it has shown me how strong love can be. It has affected my life in many ways. Number one, the stigma behind being married, engaged, dating someone in prison. A lot of people judge it, and a lot of people have stigmas such as women who do this are broken, they're abused, something's wrong with them, which is completely not true. I think this environment has made me realize how strong I am. I never thought I was strong, but this experience has made me that I literally feel invincible sometimes, able to take hit after hit through our corrupt prison system. He's located in Louisiana. I had no idea the type of prison corruption that our country is going through, especially in that state, considering their new governor. He's trying to make all these new laws against these inmates to take away rights. Another way this has affected me is also, I would say, I used to think that inmates deserve to rot in prison, and that those who got the death penalty deserved it, those who got life sentences deserved it, and this experience has opened my mind so much. I have met some of the best, kind-hearted people in prisons. I was someone who was not introduced to prisons ever. I didn't grow up with knowing felons. I didn't grow up knowing inmates. My fiance is the first felon I've ever known. I had become a brave person, having no prison experience. I walked into a prison rodeo to meet him with 600 inmates surrounding me. And I didn't really think about, the fear or what could have happened. All I was thinking was, I am so excited to meet my soulmate. And I did, and it all worked out. Unfortunately, he did get locked up day one of meeting him. So I also experienced 23-hour lockdowns. I experienced him only being able to call once a day, and if you miss that call, he can't call you again. It has changed my life in so many different ways. I have created this community through support groups. One of them is Love Within Walls. They actually have a podcast and a Facebook page, and the support I have received from them is unmatchable. Some other ways this has affected my life is I have learned so much about laws and parole and life sentences and how different states have 25 years life sentences. Some states have life sentences. But really most important thing I think I've learned was these are humans in prison, and they're treated subhuman. They're enslaved. They work 16 hours for 20 cents a day. I've learned so many illegal things that have happened in these prisons. My fiance basically had his life threatened consecutively by a high powerful warden of Louisiana State Penitentiary. This warden has also approached me in the free world, being intimidating, trying to yell at me. It's been a crazy ride. But in general, this has affected me personally, financially. This has been the biggest investment I have ever made, and also the biggest commitment I've ever made to someone. I have been divorced twice, and I have never in my life made this commitment or this type of investment into anybody. And if I had to do it all again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Even though we've had challenges, our relationship has always been strong. Our challenges are actually with the state of Louisiana, but relationship-wise, we've had no problems. This also has made me realize that so many people judge those in prison, and if we walked around out here with the biggest mistake we ever made on our foreheads, the world would function so much differently. People would judge you so much harder, and we have all these inmates in prison who have to walk around with murderer, with robbery on their forehead, with kidnapper on their forehead, and a lot of these men committed these crimes due to drugs, due to hard family relationships. These men are also the victims as well. Even though there are victims of these crimes, these men, women are also victims. They were brought up in a society that didn't prepare them for life, and they made a really, really big mistake so young. I don't think anyone should get convicted at 17 years old and face 100 years with no chance to get out ever. I think institutionalized is what all these men are going through. They've been through so many bad things so young, and then they make a really big mistake and their life is over. But in general, this has changed my life for the better. I've never received this type of love. I've never received this type of commitment or investment, and it's not just me giving it, it's him giving it as well. This life has made me become a very creative person. It has made me learn things about the prison system that I think are awful. I think the federal government needs to do something. We have too many powerful people in these positions who stay there for 25 years, 30 years, and they are bought and paid for. There are so many people in Louisiana, the wardens, the governors, the senators, the mayors, who are bought and paid for. My fiance's sentencing was political, and to get help for these people, to try to appeal sentences, to try to get parole, everything is made so they can fail. And I think as a prison system, they claim they want to rehabilitate people, but that's not true. They want to keep them in there for the rest of their life. I think it's great that people are making documentaries about prisons and want people to speak on it. This has changed my life emotionally, personally, financially. It made me enter a world that I had no idea what I was getting into. I went in blind, and I have learned so many things, such as corruption, such as wardens threatening people, such as how messed up states are in 5 months. You can't learn this information in school. You can't learn it in a book. You learn it when you go through it. And I think anyone who does this, anyone who's in love with an inmate, a prisoner, They go through a lot of challenges, essentially a lot of beatdowns from the state. It feels like sometimes every time you turn, there's another wall. And it's just the resilience these couples have, including myself. The resilience is crazy. You cannot find this type of love out in the real world.
Having a loved one that's incarcerated, it's a hurtful feeling. It can make you go through so many changes, so many moods, and it makes you want to not trust anybody, you know. That's why I'm a loner. I don't consider nobody my friend, but my son John, this fella right here, my baby's 40 years old. He's doing 25 years of life for a murder he didn't commit. And I only got to see John, I'm gonna say, maybe 4 times. Maybe 4 times. And every time I go to see him, you know, I break down because he shouldn't be there, but he is. And because we couldn't afford a lawyer, you know, they coerced him into signing a statement against himself. Court Officer Kate, she lied about asking jury number 12 what they got, and he said a conviction, brought it to the judge's attention. Jeffrey Groder brought it to the judge's attention. The judge took Court Officer Kate into his chambers. She came back and she swore under oath that she did not ask jury number 12 anything. I hurt so bad because that day I should have spoke up and I didn't. I was afraid of being locked up, you know. I don't like dealing with the courts because it's sad.